All right. Welcome to Assets and Algorithms, the podcast where we explore the intersection of real estate and technology. I have Adam Gower here with me today. And thank you for joining me. I appreciate you coming
Well,
on
very
today.
glad to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Absolutely. So I'd like to jump right into it and just ask you to share a little bit about your role, how it fits into the bigger picture, and a little bit about how we got here.
Okay. So my career has been almost exclusively real estate, Derek, for my entire career. So it goes back several decades. And I've done just about everything there is to do in real estate. I've developed on my own account. I've developed for clients. I'm sorry, as a line manager for major companies. I've run major companies. I've raised a lot of money for real estate. And these days, what I do is build digital marketing systems, actually with a fairly intensive I build digital marketing systems for real estate professionals who want to raise equity capital for their deals. And one thing that I have been focused on recently is LinkedIn, actually, and getting a lot of success with LinkedIn. And we also use AI as well. Probably not to the extent that you do, but we do use it.
Awesome. Awesome. That sounds amazing, man. Thank you for sharing that. So you said that you're building digital marketing systems for companies to help them grow. Can you tell me what does a typical day look like, or what does the typical tools that you're using look like?
Sure. Okay, it's a really good question, actually. I like that question. I do have kind of a typical day. I start every day. I usually get up around 4 o'clock and consume huge amounts of coffee and a little bit of toast. That's basically how I start. That's at 4 o'clock. So by 4:05, I'm ready to go. And then I check emails and kind of establish what are the major priorities for the day. Organize my day to make sure that I hit all the key things, the most important things that move the needle, and also client work. I try to get client work out of the way. Then around 5:30 or between 5 and 5:30, built a system that works extremely well on LinkedIn. So between 5 and 5:30, start posting like crazy or commenting like crazy. And then at 6 o'clock, my posts go out, right? So I
Hmm.
post every day other than weekends. And then I continue commenting on other people's posts and on comments on my post. And that takes me to about 6:30, 7 o'clock. And then I work through client issues, and then we do a lot of promotions as well. We do a lot of marketing. So I build funnels. I build funnels for our clients. I write an enormous amount. So we do a lot of writing based on conversations with client, building content, authentic content for them, as well as writing promotional materials. So once we build systems for our clients, we then move to marketing. And so I work on those marketing campaigns, and they've been very successful, but they take a lot of focus and effort. Yeah. So that's a kind of a typical day.
Okay. Sounds wonderful. It sounds like you're really dialed in and focused on content creation, and client outreach, expanding your network.
Yep.
And it sounds like you're using technology to do that. I want you to talk a little bit about the shifts that you may be seeing in the industry right now and how that relates to what you're doing.
And in terms of the shifts in terms of technology use, is that what you're talking about, Derek?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So obviously AI has started to have an increasing impact. I mean, I use three platforms primarily: ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Claude. So those are the three that I really use. And I mostly use ChatGPT. So I'd say I'm a fairly heavy user of ChatGPT. But what I've found is that and what I see in my industry is that people tend to use it. They're very casual about the use. They're not really very sophisticated because it pumps out incredible results very quickly. And it's easy to be seduced into thinking that's all it takes. What I've
Mhm.
found is that it requires a lot of massaging. Over the years, I've written multiple books, some that have been published by major publishers, others that I've self-published. I've written and edited millions, literally millions of words of content, both for my own website, my own writing, my own books, but also on behalf of clients. And that process started with me writing. right? And then I started hiring writers. So I'd create the outlines, send them to my writers together with transcripts typically, and then heavily edit what they did. It was time consuming and expensive. Now what I do is I use ChatGPT for that. But what I found is that in order to get ChatGPT to work just the way I want it to, I have to communicate with it in the same way as I used to with my writers. So I would explain exactly what the nuance was. What is the angle that I want to take? Here's a core thesis, but I want to present it from this perspective to this audience. This is the style of the language that I want. You know, it's actually not much different from the way that I communicate with my team anyway.
Mm-hmm.
The difference, of course, is that the results don't take 3 or 4 days to come back. Once you communicate, it's 3 or 4 seconds. And so as a consequence, I find that I'm able to get vastly more done considerably faster. The other thing is that my writers, my entire team, I encourage and help them to learn how to use AI, because there's little point them not using it. They're going to be able to deliver more faster for less money to me if they become proficient. So I don't replace them with AI. I help them use AI better so that they can deliver better results to me quicker. I basically am. Yeah.
I love that answer. I love that you really walked us through it. And I think that that's kind of becoming an unofficial theme when we speak about AI, is the fact that AI isn't necessarily going to replace people, especially in real estate. It's going to enhance the results that they're able to get, right? Someone using real estate becomes much more efficient, much more productive just by leveraging these tools. So that's great to hear that from you as well. Can you tell me a little bit, because I know you speak about syndicators, you talked about raising money a bit earlier. Are you also using these tools or platforms? And have you seen any differences for syndicators trying to raise capital more efficiently?
Yes, right. So that's an interesting question. So, the most important thing is to generate content. You're still generating content. I will tell you what the biggest mistake syndicators make or capital raisers make is. The biggest mistake they make is in using templates. So there's a lot of people that at the moment that recently emerged that teach how to raise capital online, and they deliver these courses that include templates. There's a bunch of templates. And so what you find their followers do is take those templates and then just mass produce them. And so what ends up happening is that everyone ends up sounding exactly the same and actually making exactly the same mistakes. Because if the original content or the original concept was flawed, and all you're doing is duplicating it or amplifying it using AI, give me 10 versions of this or whatever. All you're doing is you are multiplying the same mistake, and it's actually a significant problem. It creates a lot of noise. So they're good templates, but because so many people are using them and duplicating them, it just creates a lot of noise that is difficult to rise above. So how do you rise above that? Well, the only way to rise above, particularly in a world where content is mass produced, is you have to be authentically you. You have to be really true to who you are. And I think that a lot of people have a hard time with that, actually. I don't know who I am. I'm not sure how to make that. I'm not sure how to articulate my personal view, or they shy away from sharing personal views, or they're just not sure how to do it. And so that's why they lean into templates and into replicating what other people have said and done. But what we do for our clients is we help them draw out their unique value proposition. So you asked about syndicators and how do syndicators do that. So basically my process, and you can't avoid this, but if you want to do it properly. But my process is I interview our clients multiple times. So I'll interview them once a week for 6 months, between 3 and 6 months. And each time we talk, we drill down on a very different topic to do with their business and what, with their investment thesis or investment proposition or value prop. And everybody is unique, right? But it takes effort. I've been in this business for so long that when I hear somebody talking about real estate, I can hear things that they say that have become so part of them, so embedded in who they are, they don't realize how powerful it is. It's
Hmm.
just part of, it's part of who they are. And so what I'll do is I'll interview them on that topic. And there's one, an easy topic is how do you, I mean, just for a non-real estate audience, which I think your audience is, but how do you measure returns? Right? And they may have a unique perspective on how they see measuring returns when somebody makes an investment. So I'll ask them we'll talk for 45 minutes to an hour just on that one topic.
Hmm.
And then from that, I will generate the content. And I went off topic there a little bit, but we'll leverage AI to draw out of the transcript an article and then LinkedIn posts. But the key is that what we've done is we have drawn out their unique perspective that makes them different. It's what makes them different. And that is what draws prospects to them. And
Hmm.
that is what helps them convert their prospects into becoming investors with.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that answer. It sounds like you really take the time to figure out what the human part is, right? Before you bring in the technology, which is very important, right? And making sure that those relationships and that resonance is brought out.
That's
So I appreciate that, absolutely. So it sounds like a lot of your business is around content and educational content, and you've built this wonderful educational platform that reaches a ton of investors. Can you talk a little bit about that growth strategy and what's working well for you, maybe some of what's been frustrating?
I'm so glad you asked that. So once we build these systems, we then move to marketing. So a
Mhm.
system basically is a high is a website that is optimized for capital formation. It has a lot of lead gen forms on it so that when people land on your website, they can sign up and get access to your newsletter, and then you can start nurturing. So once you've built the infrastructure, which is the website with all its content, lead gen capabilities, then we move to marketing. There are all kinds of ways to successfully market in real estate, and every different marketing strategy is dependent on the sponsors. What are they comfortable with? So conferences are a great way to go. You could do advertising, paid advertising. You can advertise in newsletters. One thing that we found works exceptionally well is LinkedIn. LinkedIn managed properly is by far, we've found the best platform for finding prospects, nurturing them, and converting them into being investors. It's a process. And I've developed a system for that that works very, very well. So that's what we've been focused on recently, is expanding that. And the reason for that, by the way, Derek, is we were doing a lot of advertising on Facebook. I mean, by some standards, we didn't advertise very much, but we spent, it's probably significantly in excess of $1 million on Facebook advertising. And what we found was that the lead quality, lots of leads, the lead quality is appallingly bad. So we decided to try something else to see if we could find a better platform and a better resource. And that's how we came across LinkedIn, spent a lot of time and money figuring it out. And now we have a system that just hums along gangbusters.
That's beautiful. It sounds like you guys really were able to dial in on that niche and really get some traction going there using LinkedIn. So let me ask, which metrics would you say you're most focused on improving now that you found the correct platform?
Yes, for us metrics, and by the way, I just checked while we're talking, being the multitasker that I'm, you and I met on LinkedIn. I mean, you found me on LinkedIn,
Right.
right? So, I mean, that's kind of proof that it works one way or another. So the metrics, there's only one metric that really counts in my business, and that is how much have you raised? So our clients have raised probably close to $1 billion in equity capital with $25,000 minimums. So it's one of those things. It's actually very challenging for us because it's difficult to track. And here's why. So typically, let's say we do a Facebook campaign, or you advertise on, or you do something. Well, LinkedIn is a bit easier to track. But let's say you do a Facebook campaign, or you're on a podcast, or you go to a conference, etc. Well, what happens here? I'm going to wave my phone as a prop while we talk here. But what happens when somebody sees your name on a podcast or hears you on a podcast or sees you at conference? they do research on you, right? They do research and they end up at your website. So they may sign up on your website and it looks like an organic lead, right? Could be an SEO driven lead, but that's not actually how they found you. They found you because they saw you on LinkedIn or because they saw you at a conference or they heard you on a podcast. So sometimes it's very difficult to connect the dots. In fact, sometimes it's impossible to connect the dots between what really works and what you're really looking for. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is, did somebody invest? So, for example, when we run Facebook campaigns, we run a Facebook campaign and, you know, you get, I mean, one optimizes the campaign to minimize the cost per lead. However, it's not the ultimate metric, all right? Click-through rate or whatever, impressions, they don't really matter. The only thing that matters is, did this prospect sign contracts and wire money? And so that's the only thing that matters, but it kind of, your line of sight to how they came into your funnel sometimes is very foggy. And you don't really know where they came from, ultimately, without asking them. And in some cases, they can't remember. I mean, if they say, if you're doing your job properly, folks should not have an awareness of how they came across you. They should say, they should just, it's a kind of an interesting concept, actually. Their awareness of you should be so holistic that they simply cannot remember the first point. They say, well, I'm not sure, it was on a podcast. Maybe it was Facebook. If it's LinkedIn, I'm not sure. I know you, right?
Right.
And then they make contact.
Absolutely. I feel like if you really saturate the market with your message and your image and with your business, which you're looking to get out there, then they say it takes 7 touches, but
Right.
if you have those touches across different platforms and of course the outreach methods, yes, it becomes difficult to really dial in on who introduced you or how you were introduced to this person. So that's an interesting. Awesome. Okay. So I want to ask if you could solve one major challenge today, what would it be?
Finding the lottery numbers. So a major challenge today, well, it's an interesting day that you should ask about that because the world is really upside down at the
Right.
moment. So I mean, so there are all kinds of ways of answering that. One is the jokey way, which is, you know, get me the lottery tickets. That'd be a great challenge. Another one, which is the almost impossible to solve, frankly, right now, and that is give me predictability in the markets in general. That's like both of those seem as unlikely as each other. So on a more pragmatic level, probably biggest challenge today in a business context probably would be leveraging AI even more effectively. I've become so used to using what I think of as the big three, right? ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Claude. ChatGPT most, that and so effective that it makes it hard for me to want to look anywhere else. Like, how could I get any more leverage out of this?
Right.
But we do, and I do encourage my team to look for solutions as well when they have problems. So I think that would probably be it. Just figuring out equally impactful solutions in the same way as ChatGPT has been on my business, but that isn't ChatGPT and that, you know, solves other challenges that I have. There's the other thing as well, you know, with AI, Derek. There are challenges that you don't know you have until somebody puts a solution in front of you. And then you think, oh my goodness, that is amazing.
Absolutely.
I want that, right? It's like things that you didn't realize were even possible. Yeah, understanding the unknown challenges, I suppose, also would be interesting.
Absolutely. And I think that's a wonderful thing you touched on there. You know, you don't know what you don't know, and the technology is so new that it's solving so many problems so quickly. All of them aren't necessarily in front of your face, but being able to be introduced to these new solutions for problems you didn't necessarily know you had could be game changing, right? And could have a tremendous impact. So
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why we have these type of conversations, so that maybe the conversation that we have impacts someone in that way. So I definitely appreciate you joining me. You've given a ton of insight, I think, and I want to give you the opportunity to tell people where they can find you if they want to reach out to you, or any last words.
Thank you. Very kind. Really, I would say the best Couple things. One is connect on LinkedIn. So Adam Gower, you should be able to find me fairly quickly. The GowerCrowd is my website. And so I have a newsletter. Goes out once a week. That's actually going to go out this morning. Maybe it just went out. Actually, it did. It just went out while we started talking at 10 o'clock. GowerCrowd.com. GOWER. My last name and the word crowd. Sign up for my newsletter. You can always unsubscribe. And it comes directly from me. So if you've got any questions, just reply and I'll get back to you.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Thank you for that. And thank you for joining me here on Assets and Algorithms.
Thanks for having me, Derek.